Hey everybody, Bryan back again on a beautiful yet rather muggy, warm Wednesday afternoon. Actually, you know what? It's not afternoon yet. Got up pretty early today. Did some stuff around the house. Thought I'd come out for a walk. Wife is off from work today. She was still kind of snoozing, so I thought I'd come out, visit an old favorite place of mine. So here I am, back at Foster Park. And if you remember, this is sort of in the southwest-ish side of town. Lovely little park. I enjoy being here quite a bit. I've been here, for a couple different videos. One on my bike, one just kind of wandering around. Come to think of it, I may have been here 3 times. I don't know. But I'm back again, just making kind of a simple video. I'm going to do my usual route. But I want to stop off in a few places just to look a little closer at certain things. If you join me for my previous video, I talked about back to school. I'm very, very, very excited for this upcoming season. As it stands, I have about 13 days to go until I get to go back to school. I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a kid yelling back there about something, I don't know what. River is very low. I'm going to try to make my way down here. It's kind of steep. See what's going on down here. The magnet fisherman in me is interested in these dry riverbeds because things reveal as the water level goes down, and you can see right here is a really nasty looking chair. Probably a fisherman's chair left behind. I'm gonna go up here a little bit. So yeah, back to school. I'm legitimately excited. No sarcasm there at all. I'm looking forward to seeing the kids again. But I think for me, I'm feeling a bit of revitalization. And what I mean by that is this is my 3rd season at the school I work with. And my first season with them was rough, as noted in one of my earlier videos. Second season, way much better. Last season was really, really good for me. The 5th grade student body was awesome. I thought they collectively did a nice job in keeping focus, concentration, and just being really, really easy to work with. And as someone in education, either a teacher or some peripheral staff member would probably agree that that is a big part of success in schools, is we can have those connections with the kids that go beyond the mathematics and the English and everything, and you can make really good connections. And that is something I value quite a bit. Man, it's not looking too good. Fort Wayne, by the way, if you're not from the area, Fort Wayne is very similar to Pittsburgh in that the rivers are kind of what gave this city its early prominence. We have 3 rivers going through Fort Wayne, and that brought in a lot of commerce, and our military fort was built here with that in mind too. I did a video before about visiting the old fort. It's not particularly a place I find terribly interesting, but if you're into history, and particularly American, like revolutionary, that sort of history, there's a lot to learn at the fort. It's beautiful. They renovate it all the time, make it look nice. I don't know if I've ever actually walked this closely to the river down here before. And the the way the trees are constructed here, more or less, act as a nice little bank for when the river rises too much. This is by design. They specifically built these banks up with these types of trees so that it could help push away the rising tides and waters. So Foster Park will flood out from time to time. You can see it really well on the golf course. Yeah, not a whole lot of much activity going on at the moment down here. I'm gonna head back up the hill. I don't think I can go any further down here. Maybe I can. This eventually gets back on the path. If I can break through the brush up there. But the curiosity in me wants to go a little further down there. But it looks a little muddy. I'm gonna go back up. There we go. Yep, there's a path here. I'm gonna go back this way and see if I can connect to the main path. So, when thinking about the new season, thinking about what I can do to make this an even better season, as I started talking about my previous video, something I really want to work on is documentation. Last season, I started doing that around March for one particular student who was having a lot of trouble. And it was a benefit. It really was, because I was asked. In fact, all the staff members were asked to do this. Write down things that the student does, their behaviors that pose a challenge to the we'll say the health of the classroom. Are they exhibiting behaviors that kind of get in the way? And this particular student did. She demanded in her own way a lot of attention, and I'm to blame for that in certain ways, because if she had an issue, I would be there to help. And that sounds fine on the surface, but really what that amounts to is any challenge, any slight inconvenience, she would, ask for me or raise her hand or, call out my name, because she knew I would be there to help. And I knew there were times when she was doing that impulsively, without true need. But I felt so strongly about her. I couldn't deny her the chance at telling me the truth. And if you work in a school with kids that have erratic behaviors, or they're a challenge to your patience, there is the boy who cried wolf phenomenon. But at the same time, because we're, at our hearts, we're sympathetic people. That's why we're in this job. We don't want to ignore, because there actually may be a threat there. So when she would, ask for help with getting work done, or assistance through working through problems in math, she had the smarts to do it, but I don't think she had the confidence. So when she was asking for help, what she was really asking for is, hey, do you believe in me? Hey, can you prove to me that you believe in me? Well, that's what I would do. I would help her out as much as I could, but then I'd let her go to figure out the problems. And that's really the job that we're supposed to have as educators. We're not supposed to do things for them. We're supposed to give them the tools, or remind them of the tools that they can use to do the right thing. And that's a really interesting tree. That's a huge tree, and you know what? That thing is going to fall. Oh my goodness. That is so hollowed out down there. Look at this. I might come down here. Wow. And if that falls, that's going at least to the center of the river there. That's cool, though. It's very beautiful in a way. Interesting. You can see the rocks down here. There's a wall. There's one of those barriers. It's a intentional barrier, of course. Here's what I'm seeing too. Look at that. It's like a rock bridge. I wonder if you think I should try it? I'm gonna try it. I don't want to get muddy. That's my goal with this activity right now. Ooh. I think I may have gone the wrong way. Forgive the unsteadiness. I'm balancing atop these. Ooh, that's soft mud. I might have to come from the other direction. I think I'm going to do that. Let's go back over here. I hear a noise over there. Something's going on over there. So back on topic. Yeah, we have to be careful with how we treat kids for a variety of reasons, but something that tends to fly under the radar is just how much help do you give before it becomes a crutch. And with this particular student I'm referring to, she was traipsing very close to just expecting a lot of crutches from me. But the exchange was, she put a lot of trust in what I was doing. She valued my time in the classroom with her. And for that, I will reward with time and opportunity. Whoa. It's kind of gross. I don't know if it shows up on the video, but there are a lot of mosquitoes down here. There's a big mosquito nest. In fact, there's a few of them down here. I don't think I'm going to be able to cross. This is very muddy. If it dries out a bit, I might come back sometime and test it out. This is not deep at all. This is really shallow. But the bugs in the mud right now, they're kind of not advantageous for me right now. But hey, we'll save it for another time, maybe. Back up the hill. Hey, there we go. Let's go this way. There's another tiny path that direction. Ugh. Oh man. No one's been here in a while. Spider webs. So backing up to a previous thought, documentation. I'm going to start this year by documenting every single day. And that's not only the students. It's not what they're doing. But I want to document everything that's going on. Meaning, if I have a really, how should I put it? Like an interesting discussion with someone who gives me information that maybe I shouldn't have. Or they create a situation that's forcing me to make a moral judgment on something. You never know. It might come back later on. I might be asked, hey, did so-and-so ever talk to you about certain things? And I can say, yeah, on this date this happened, on this date. I feel that sort of documented information is really powerful. And I've tried to incorporate that in other parts of my life too. And I don't know if I've ever talked about this specifically with you, but we have neighbors who live around us who are absolute terrible. They're awful with managing their dogs. And it's been like this for years. And it got so bad that I felt I needed to do something about it. So I would contact the housing addition or the association, property management group. It just wasn't helping. They would turn a blind eye to it, recite something from the county code book, and leave it at that. They just wouldn't get involved. They're involved enough to take my money, but not involved enough to really do good for us. And to me, that's a measure of a good organization. Are they willing to step out of their role a little bit to do something good for the residents? And they just don't do that. But anyways, I tried the proper steps, getting things done, even communication with the people. That doesn't work either. So what I decided was, I'm going to keep track of all these times when these dogs will be barking incessantly. The moments, the duration, all these things. And I did that for well over a year and a half. And right now on my phone, I've got this note that I've been compiling over this time that describes all the times I was woken up, all the times that I was prevented from falling asleep, the times when the barking was longer than 10 minutes, times when they were, I think by county code, if it's a total of 15 minutes within an hour, or 20 straight minutes, that's when you're supposed to call animal control. And I had more than enough reason to do that, but being a rather agreeable softie, I don't always do that. I have called before, and they always tell me, there's nothing we can do about this. We can talk to them, but it's not like they can take away the dogs. Even though to me that's a suitable solution, because having a dog it's not a right, it's a privilege. So here we are. This is a bridge that goes across the river, and it connects to Bluffton Road. Now over here there's a mural. It's very nice, very beautiful. Nice little fox. I like foxes quite a bit, side note. By the way, there's a school in southwest side of town who have foxes as their mascot. It's an elementary school. And I'm thinking about doing a video about how you name a school, not just the namesake, but what sort of animal you attribute it to. I know it sounds weird, but there's something behind that I want to discuss. It won't be today, but maybe that'll be in the future. It'll be kind of a fun video. Anyways, I'm going to go across this bridge. I'm going to show you Bluffton Road, tell you a little bit about that. Here's our Little Rivers again. I don't remember which one this is. I want to say St. Mary's. It's either St. Mary's, Maumee, or St. Joseph. I think this is St. Mary's. St. Joseph is more north. And when I went to Sweeney Park, Shove Park, that was the river I walked near. Actually, oh, this is fun. I'm moving the bridge right now, if you can hear that. Not sure what's down there, or why I would want to go down there. Maybe for utility. I'll come up here, these steps. These are very steep steps. I'll show you when I get up here. think we're going at about a 45-degree angle, maybe a little more. So yeah, pretty high there. So this is Bluffton Road. This cuts through Waynedale. I've been through Waynedale before. Goes both directions. I can hit a junction over there where if you were to ride your bike, you go under a bridge and you come out over there at Foster Park. If I go the other way down here, it cuts right through the little community, a lot of restaurants and stuff down there. It's a cool little ice cream stand down there. You sell hot dogs and other foods as well. It's particularly nice because right next door is a driving range. My dad and I used to hit golf balls quite a bit over there. We don't do that so much anymore. He's very, he's caught up in his own personal world. So we don't get to see him very often anymore. Waynedale is it's a nice neighborhood. I lived around there for a couple of years. Went to school at one of the elementary schools there. I'm going to exit here. I'm going to get back on the main trail and loop around. Bugs aren't too terribly bad right now. I don't like the spider webs. That sucks. I'm not going to go down that path back there. It's just going to be more webs. I don't think it's been traveled today. So if anyone was behind me on that trail back there, we got a free walk. I'm having to deal with the webs. So documentation, yeah, I think it's important to keep track of these things. Memory can fail a person as they get older, so get things written down, things of value, things that you want to refer to. But I want to do more of that. I want to keep track of these things. I think it's important. So I might get myself a little planner, fill it out on breaks. What happened today that had some significant value, something maybe good I can refer to. Maybe there's a student that did something really nice, thinking that no one else was watching. I can refer back to it and say, you know what? Don't feel too bad about yourself, because back on such and such a day, I saw what you did. And that was really nice. You know, people can have value in you and what you do. So I'm in a situation here where I'm going to be walking faster than the people ahead of me. And I'm trying to avoid people on camera. So I'm going to casually look behind me. And there's someone far away right now. But, See, if we're on a bike, it wouldn't matter too much. I would just go ahead and zoom around them, but walking is a little different. I'm going to try to keep them not in focus too well. And side note, I've been making these videos for a while now, a number of months. If it's not widely apparent, I don't edit anything here. This is, I hit record, and that's it. No pausing, nothing. I don't tamper with any of this. I want this to be as raw as possible. But this is a moment where I should probably just pause, run ahead, unpause, and start again. I'm not going to do that. I want to keep to my basic principle for these being very raw walk and talks. Because it happens to work for me. It may not work for you, and that's understood. Especially in a day and age of amateur journalists, you know, making really creative videos using, you know, elaborate editing programs to make them look semi-professional. They're really good. I watch a lot of them. But it's not me. Can't be bothered with that. Good gracious, they're slow. I might have to cut through the golf course. Is anybody out today? I don't think anybody's out. Now around these parts, this is a no-no. You're not supposed to do this. Oh, there's people back there. But I think where I'm at, I think parallel to a particular hole over here, so I'm not necessarily in anyone's way. Okay, these people are getting in the grass for some reason. So let's see if I can get around the other way. In the last video, I talked about the back to school effect. You know, you see the commercials more and more now. Buy, get your stuff, be fashionable with the clothing. You know, all those things that don't necessarily matter in the long term, but they may be crucial to a child in the moment. How you explain that to a child, that's difficult, because they don't have a sense of grand ideas. They may not be able to see beyond their little personal bubble. And that comes with time and experience, of course, both of which they don't have, or they have not built up that sort of experiential equity. So to them, to go back to school means, okay, I'm going back into my social group. What's my position within there? And we start talking about hierarchies and who are the so-called smart kids, who are the so-called the kids with the shortcomings or the challenges or the and maybe in some cases disabilities. And it's hard to avoid that sort of hierarchy because they're present everywhere. There's no society that doesn't have them in one way or another, and they can be parsed and defined in a multitude of ways. So even if you happen to be on the top of the heap in one hierarchy, you may be way at the bottom on another one. I don't think kids are able to notice this, nor do they really care. I think this is more of an adult thing, imposing their viewpoints upon what a kid does. And the best we can do is inform them, look, you have value here, you have responsibility, let's merge those two. And I think something I want to work on, I'll put it that way. Something I want to work on this coming season, in addition to being a little more useful with my documentation, is figuring out the best ways to explain to a kid the immediacy of the moment, what matters now, and how it relates to the bigger picture. I mean, we are a place of education, so I feel it's incumbent upon me, within the frame of my work, to help educate them to understand their future, or at least a future that's expected. Because I've yet to come across a kid in the elementary realm that really understands their situation fully. I sometimes criticize, and I shouldn't, but I sometimes criticize the public model for education by saying, look, it's just one big conveyor belt. You place the kids upon it, they ride it out, and they step off for a while, they get back on, they ride that out, step off for a while, get back on there, and it's always moving forward. The concept of forward could be viewed in different ways. There's the The forward in the sense of, okay, your state wants you to be at this competency level, and here's what we're going to teach you to help you understand what you need to know and be able to demonstrate it properly. That's that conveyor belt. There's also the idea of we can't have a logjam by holding back kids who aren't performing at the levels we prefer. So that conveyor belt is always going in one direction. It's going to that next grade when it may not be useful to that child. It may not be useful to even the parents. And I think it's well understood that there is a relationship between how we progress kids forward who demonstrate beyond a shadow of a doubt that they can handle tougher challenges. For example, a student that skips maybe first grade and goes right to second grade, or they progress from fifth grade to seventh grade. They have the mindset and the ability and the social awareness and the proper adjustment to go right from, let's say, a late middle school or even like an early middle school to a junior high. Maybe make a leap there. It's happened before, just as it's happened where a student can't progress beyond their present day expectation and are held back. In essence, they're not placed back on that conveyor belt. They're on a different one that doesn't move quite yet. But once that kid starts showing competency and the ability to move on, they flip that switch. Oh, there's a deer back there. I don't know where it's going. Might not be able to see it. It's a doe, young one. It's going to be crossing paths with me here in a second. But the back to school idea as it pertains to this, what does that mean? What does it mean to an individual child? Are they literally going back to school? Okay, they're going back to what they just experienced. Or are they going back to the school idea? Okay, now, I'm much older now. I'm in a bigger grade. I have bigger expectations, especially that leap from elementary to middle school. The kids I worked with last season, they were wonderful. Some of them I really worry about for sixth grade, because you're going from the top of the pile in this school to the foundation at your next school. Everyone's bigger, older, wiser, stronger than you are. But you just finished up a benchmark, a particular threshold. And there's psychological damage there that could happen. And how do we ease them forward? I think that the narrative, and this is something I'm going to change, is that, not really change, but maybe emphasize a little more, because I was already doing it last season, is that you haven't figured out your future. That is something I talked with Violet about. She was dead set on telling me, as a fifth grade student, you know what, I'm not going to go to college. In order to be a pop star, you don't have to do that. She might be right on that individual concept. But what she's not using is her ability to think forward for herself, because she may not have that. She's absorbing information around her. She's using her parents as a model. She's using the influence of social media as a model. She's doing everything but using her own sense to determine, a rightful path for her. So it makes sense that I would tell her, you know what, you can have your dream. You can work towards that conclusion, but you still have to put the work in to figure out who you are. And I told her, figure out who you are at every age. Who are you, Violet, at 10? You're 11 now. Who are you? You just hit 12. Who are you now? 13. You're a teenager now. Who are you? What matters to you? What matters to you now versus what mattered to you last year? And I wish I could continue having those discussions with her. I cared so much about that relationship we had last season. In addition to being just a wonderful child. She was easy to talk to. She gave me appropriate amounts of information. We had a good time together. We valued each other's presence. And most of all, we were in mutual admiration. I admired what she could do at her age. She admired me for what I could do as almost compensation for other adults who weren't doing what they should have been doing. And she told me that, and I mentioned this in the video dedicated to her, that she called me the greatest person in the world. And I know kids will exaggerate based upon feelings of the moment, but I understood what she meant by it. I represented something different for her. Now, the task is, and this goes back into what I want to do this coming season, how do I build those brands of relationships with all the kids? Is it even possible? I'm not so sure. There were students last year who just, even being with them for 9 months, they didn't know who I was. They didn't really know my name. They didn't really show much interest in what I was doing. And as I'm walking down here, I'm kind of looking for other critters in the wild, other deer. Probably not going to hear them over here because there's a work vehicle over there kind of making some noise. There's another path back there. But there are certain kids that just did not connect with me at all. And I find that really, really normal. I find that to be really okay. Is it optimal? With what I'm talking about here, as it pertains to connectivity and working forward, maybe not. But the law of averages says you're not going to connect with everybody. In fact, I've heard this before. Teachers, and I was a teacher for a very short period of time, they're told that, you know what? Not only may you not connect with everyone, you may end up not even liking all of your students. And that statement, it's one of those things where you know it to be true, but you don't ever hear it to be true. You know it to be true, meaning you've probably experienced this. Or if you have that critical thinking faculty in your mind, you know that to be true. But for someone to admit it in polite society, or at least polite work environment, is very profound. It's an admittance that no matter what you do, you may end up not liking a certain student. I don't think I ever really got to that point. There were behaviors I found detestable that just irritated the heck out of me, but the students themselves, no. Because there's a part of me that feels that some students are kind of at the mercy of their psychology, of their psyche. They're a culmination, a conglomeration of their environment, their influences, the people around them, and most certainly parents and or the lack thereof. And that is a sobering thought, especially if you are new to education. You got to realize that these kids do not all come from a cookie cutter background. And I'm not talking about merely matters of group identification, racial backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, religious belief backgrounds. I'm talking about the day-to-day existence, the living situation. What perceived class do their parents come from? Can we even say parents? Is it more or less a case of guardianship? Do these kids have guardians? Maybe they're adopted. Maybe they've been, in some cases, dramatically removed from an old way of life and placed into a new one that's hard for them. And what does a child do when they reach an area of their life where they can't quite make sense of the world around them? Well, they have a high chance of going berserk, acting out, behaving in a way that's not conducive to a healthy classroom. What do? Do you lash out at them? Do you reprimand them? Do you pull out the stick and smack the desk? Order is great. Order and compliance and organization and having all your ducks in a row and dotting your I's and crossing your T's, that's great. Is it feasible to expect it, though? I don't know. My favorite TV show of all time, and I will go to my so-called grave with this, is Little House on the Prairie. The life of Laura Ingalls Wilder is it's a beautiful testament to the amazing time, being very young and exploratory and tenacious and determined and having good morals and coming from a good valued system of having parents who care, who are willing to talk to you, yet you still have a spunky sort of wild side that you experiment with because you're testing out those social networks around you in a place where technology is very primitive. So your social interaction is paramount to your success. There's an episode where and I apologize for the noise, there's a lot of work going on right now, where the then teacher, the beautiful Miss Beadle, is put off by some of the students who are just acting poorly, carelessly. They're the elder students in the room, because this was a one-room schoolhouse. So we had a variety of different grades within the same room. Oh, these older boys, of course, they were causing problems, and she couldn't handle it, so she's gone. And here comes a new teacher, and he's this very rigid, hard-nosed British headmaster, and he doesn't like Laura at all. He cannot stand her. It's not immediately apparent why, but in typical story tropes, things happen, and she's blamed for them. And of course, her dad, Charles, who is the most savior-esque character on the show, gives this teacher a good reprimanding for falsely accusing his daughter of doing wrong. And eventually, this guy resigns because he realizes, you know what? Maybe I'm a bit too harsh. Maybe I'm a bit too punishing to these kids. Well, there is a scene, and again, I apologize for the lawnmower noise back there, but there's a scene, and this is after his little, he has this like bag. It's not like a suitcase or anything. It's like a bag with an interesting design on it. Well, Willie, one of the town's kids, he was going through his bag and pulled out papers and threw them around the room and knocked the bag on the floor, ripping one of the little straps on it. And of course, this is after the teacher has decided that Laura has caused problems in the past. So he walks in the room and he sees his bag on the floor, and immediately he turns to the class and asks who did it. And he looks at one of the boys in the back, and he blames this boy, and he goes, "Hey, did you do this?" And he goes, "No, I didn't, sir." The teacher doesn't quite accept it, but then Laura, being the moralist, says, "You know what? He didn't do it." He turns to Laura and asks if she had done it, and she very solemnly shakes her head no, because she knows who did it, and she doesn't want to tell because she's not a tattletale, because she's a very good kid. He doesn't believe her, so he keeps, twisting the thumb screws and getting under her skin. It's like, you will tell me who did this. And he grabs this big stick and is getting ready to smack the desk in front of her, frightening her basically. And that's when Charles enters the room, notices what's going on, and the rest is history. But to that particular teacher, the idea was we need to be hard-nosed and expect big things from these kids, and we have to do it as rigidly and as punitively as possible. You have to hold them to high expectations and be hard with it. And you might come across certain kids, I would say probably boys without father figures in their home, who might actually take to that. But if you don't know your base, if you don't know your kids, if you don't know your students, if you haven't taken the time to get to know their backgrounds and the particular baggage they bring to school every day, you might be causing more damage than doing good. It's a balance. Everything in that school, everything there in your school, it's all about equilibrium. There's a time for punishment, and there's a time for praise. Those who receive persisting punishment for poor behaviors, that does not mean they will never receive praise. In fact, those are the kids that are probably struggling to find their equilibrium themselves. Is it even proper to punish? Intervention, corrections, okay. Punishment's another thing. The kids that receive praise left and right, we can presume things are okay for them because they're demonstrating a more balanced approach to their schooling. But that doesn't mean they aren't struggling. We've got to be very aware. We got to understand where these kids are coming from, because you might be missing something of value. And that's what I experienced with Violet. I had no clue what was going on at home for her, because she portrayed herself as a soft-spoken, empathetic, hardworking child. She didn't know everything. But I didn't have an outward, obvious reason to presume things were as bad as they were for her. But it was through the process of gaining her trust and telling her every day, in my own way, that I care deeply for her, that I'm interested in her life, that I value her presence in the classroom, that she gave me that information. And it was upon acquiring that information that she created a friend for life. And I told her, and this is towards the end of the season, I told her, look, if you ever need anything, let me know. If you need to talk, let me know. If you need to vent, let me know. In those moments, I should be advocating for the other adults, other teachers, because those are trusted folks in the school as well. But dang it, I earned this. She didn't give that information to everyone. It was for me. How do I do that for everyone? I don't think it's easy. I don't think it's possible. I think think you have to view things with a grand view of the students we work with. And you have to be aware of certain, behavioral traits. If they're not showing anything that is obviously troublesome, you may be able to get away with not having to dig too much. And you don't want to press a child either. You don't want them to feel as if they're being under the microscope or unfairly scrutinized when there's nothing wrong. You have to give them the freedom to speak. And yes, some of them have a hard time with that, so you do need to encourage open dialogue. I'm not suggesting you don't. But if there's nothing obviously wrong, you could let things go. But don't be under the presumption that there's nothing wrong. Leave that door open, because you never know what you might be told. But my time with Violet was life-changing for me. It was career-altering for me, because it proved to me that I do have the power to make change for someone else. I do have the power to be a good influence, to be a well-trusted adult, perhaps in a world that doesn't appear to be that trustworthy. That is something she told me early on, that her parents didn't like the school, her parents didn't like the principal, and they couldn't wait for her to get out. Well, I'm very happy that her final season was special, worthwhile, and it gave her a sense of belonging. Because guess what? It was mutual. I'm approaching my 3rd season at this particular school. And when I talk about how I want to make changes for the season, it's because I'm trying to find my way to that equilibrium. Finding my way back to the center where it should be, where I'm not thinking every day of, gee, why do we do it this way? Why does this feel wrong? Can we improve this? Can we improve that? I want to find peace. I want to feel for myself about my school the way that Violet felt towards me. She can feel at peace. She can feel open to share, sensitive dialogue. She can have good discussions. She can feel safe, secure, because someone there cares. That's what I want. I think we all want that. The question is, how do you obtain it? And as I kind of close down this video, and again, thanks for joining me at Foster Park. It really is a beautiful day. It's the nice sort of heat that I get into. I like this sort of warmth. It's cozy. I hate having a chill. That's the other thing. Oh, that's something else I'm going to have to I'm going to have to manage better. Last year I was cold all the time in that school. Every single room. And I would look at the thermostat. It's like 68. To me, that's way too low. Yeah, there are upwards of 25 bodies in the room generating heat. I get it. Sure didn't feel that way. The kindergarten room was nice. It was nice and warm in there. But man, every other room I went into was just freezing cold. I don't think I walked through this area the last time I was here. This is the gardens. It's beautiful. If you're looking to get some wedding photos taken, come out here. In fact, right over here, This beautiful heart-shaped arch is the Bridal Glen. Thousands upon thousands of really nice wedding photos have been taken here. Understandably so. It's wonderful. That little pavilion, nice and shady. Great place to come bring a book. If you like serenity and peace, even though there are roads around us that make a lot of noise, it's a nice place to come. Picnic table. Daylily garden. Nice little flower there. Ooh. There's a swallowtail butterfly there. I did a walk recently. It was over by Eagle Glen, the wetlands, and there were monarch butterflies everywhere, all over the place. And I know they do that little a little migration down south. I think it's to Mexico. So they make that long trek across the country down south. And I believe that's the direction. I think they go north-south during this time of year. There are a lot of them over there. It was really nice. But yeah, Foster Park Gardens. Come on out. Bring a book. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to end this video now. I'm not sure when the next one's going to be. I might wait till after I go back to school, so it might be some time. Go back and watch some of the old videos. There's some connectors I made with this one that may make more sense if you watch the older videos, particularly the one about Violet. It's interesting. She still gets me choked up. I guess that's what happens when you care. Speaking of which, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.